approached as part of the Regeneration project of Folkestone to generate some ideas and show the council as to what we have to offer. Obviously Michael with his pier, underwater pier idea, and with my sculptures, we didn't know that we'd actually be able to combine the two together as one, obviously as separate work. I was obviously doing my project and was generating my ideas, and Mikey was doing his. I heard that other people had been asked to do the same sort of thing as me.
We heard of each other because obviously I heard you was interested in doing an underwater exhibition, and I had the space, and I was looking for a reason to use my pier. And I thought, what a perfect idea to use it as a gallery.
Yeah, my original idea was to have them underwater, and I couldn't figure out how to actually do that with like getting everyone to view it underwater. So when I heard about your idea, I thought that's sick. I can go and put my work under there so people can go and view it. My other idea was to have them displayed in the harbour, but being able to go back to the one I wanted to do was so good. So we actually met up in Folkestone, didn't we, to go and view the area around there.
Because we wanted to look for a location for both pieces of work, and see if it would work putting them together.
We got there and it was just pretty dull, wasn't it?
It was dull and quiet.
When we got there, and like it was sort of midday lunchtime, and all the shops, well, a load of the shops were shut. There were some cafes that said like open all day, and they were just shut, so there was nowhere to get any food, which was pretty crap.
And we obviously we saw it at the worst point. The tide was right out, and none of the boats were being used, just sitting on their sides.
Yeah, it was kind of like a ghost town. I think that bringing a project like this to somewhere that's up and coming within the creative part of Kent, it will get a lot of people excited and involved in the area, which I think this area does actually have a lot of potential. So I feel that doing my project here would actually is something I want to do, and it'd be really good to do.
When we was asked to regenerate Folkestone, there was a lot of interested minds that they wanted specifically, but it took to our attention the sand beach, the harbour arm, the harbour front, and just bringing the whole town together with the seafront, really.
Yeah, the last one there, the town and the seafront together, was sort of the main one for me, because there's a lot of galleries around in the town centre and you don't really see that much of it down on the seafront. So I wanted to create some work that would go down there and draw people in from the town down to the seafront, and that's what we've done with taking my work to actually to under the sea.
And we thought doing an underwater exhibition would be the perfect purpose for the pier and give people a lot of enjoyment. I had the initial idea of giving Folkestone a new pier. It's got an old one which has been shut off and restricted to the public. I was going to redesign it, but then I thought of actually finding a new location and starting a brand new pier. I got my inspiration from Anish Kapoor. He did a lot of reflective surfaces, and the way it shows the communities that he puts them in just really brought the public in. I then had the idea of using mirrored glass. I thought having the public look out to something, but when they're on the outside they can't see in. I wanted a unique design. I wanted something that no one had experienced. I wanted the public to see something fresh. I'd been looking at shark tunnels, which are literally tunnels underwater, and I had the idea of bringing that tunnel out of the water as well as under the water. So I've still got the idea of having a pier above the water, but also being able to bring the public under the water. This design is going to start from the promenade itself, and it will finish at the old pier. What we're going to do is open the old pier up to the public, so it's a complete circuit which bring the public from the beach to the harbour, bringing in all the seaside cafes and shops that are along the promenade as well. The pathway through the tunnel itself will always be underwater, even with the tide. It's designed so when the tide's high, the public will be right at the depth of the water, and then when the tide's down, the public will be able to see outside into the sky as well as underwater. There will also be a reef off one side of the pier which will be visible from underwater, and this is where the gallery will be present for all works to be exhibited.
I've got a general interest in street art and making my own work and taking them to the streets. I like the idea that you can have the streets and, well, the world is your like canvas. And I've been drawing this character of mine for quite some time. It must be about 3 or 4 years now. I've just been putting him up around in separate towns, paste ups and spray and stencils. And when I got when I was approached to do this project, I felt that this could be great for me because I've always wanted to make some sculptures of my character and get them out in the public, and I felt that this was a great chance for me to do that. And that's when I started generating ideas and coming up with how I'm going to make the sculpture. I've created a temporary exhibition that's going to have 3 sculptures in it, and they're going to be displaying a playful scene underwater. I think that this is going to be very new to the local people of Folkestone, and it's going to attract people from different areas to come and see it. I want to do something completely different to what I'm used to doing, and normally people are used to seeing work displayed in a gallery, and I think taking it to underwater would be such a new, well, it would be a new idea and something that people will get to go and see and enjoy, hopefully. Just asking myself where I got inspired for some of this work. Over a period of time before I was approached, I was looking at a guy called Cause, who is an American street artist, and I've always liked the figures he'd been making and drawing and been producing, so they kind of relate to my ones in the same way. And his Hong Kong exhibition in 2010, where he had a really big sculpture displayed, made me think about that when I was given this task, and I wanted to create something. Well, it helped me understand that I could actually create something so big. And another guy that I'd been looking at was a guy called Mark Jenkins from Washington DC, and he does really quick cling film sculptures, and I've used that process within my modelling for my sculptures, and it was good because it was quite a quick process and you got some good results out of it. How will your design be constructed?
Construction. The first stage of construction will be we'll be sending the designs into a company called MJ Murphy Limited. They will be going over designs, making sure it will work, and they will also be producing the materials. The The construction itself will be done by a company called BAM. This will consist of 105 workers, 35 per shift, 2 managers and 2 organisers. The workers will be paid £200 per day per person, the managers will be £350 per day per person, and the organiser will be £300 per day per person. The tunnel will be constructed at a shipbuilder's warehouse called Lard, and then it will be brought from there over to the site to be placed straight into the water. We're hoping construction will take about 2.5 years. Once the pier is complete, the tunnel itself will be 39 metres high. It has to be this high because of the tide and keeping the people constantly underwater. It will be 1,629 feet long. That is from the start at the promenade to the end of the old pier. That is in fact actually a world record. The acrylic that will be making the tunnel will be 300 millimeters wide. This will be because of the pressure of the tide and the waves during bad weather. The tunnel itself will be a semicircle panoramic view. This will be 5 metres wide. This will open up the view for the reef, which will be 6.3 million gallons of water.
Have you had any issues with the environment?
We have had a lot of questions with the environment. A lot of it has been animals getting hurt, animals getting trapped in the reef that we're building, messing up the ecosystem, I suppose. We've had a lot of questions as well about the materials being made and the pollution it's giving off, but a lot of this can't be avoided, but we are trying our hardest just to ensure that we are doing our part for the environment. Lastly, we did have a question about the land being destroyed. I don't actually think that we are destroying the land. I think that we are making the land better for the community that live in Folkestone. There are some good points to be raised about the environment. We are making a home for wildlife. We will be bringing in some new wildlife into the reef itself. So it's making homes for them. We are also, by building this pier, we are stopping the beach itself getting destroyed, which does normally cost the council a lot of money to keep maintained. It will also bring in new businesses. We're hoping to have scuba diving experiences for the public to enjoy. Just an overall enjoyment to the community, really.
Have you thought about the health and safety of this huge project?
There are a lot of health and safety risks. The obvious ones, such as if the acrylic cracks, which is why we've used 300mm acrylic. It's more than necessary. It's the same with any leaks. We've done stronger seals, more than necessary. There are cases of the pier getting dirty or the water getting murky. This is all sorted by the council themselves. They have provided local scuba divers to clean the pier and the water. The murky water, if it does happen, it has been prevented by a vent and a pump that is installed under the pier itself. There are also a lot of issues with vandalism. This has also been prevented with security cameras. It's also locked at night by council workers. In case any of these incidents do happen, we have located ladders throughout the tunnel itself leading to roof hatches. This is always accessible to the public. This is also prevented from regular checks and cleaning by the maintenance staff that are also provided from the council.
So what are your projected costs for this project?
The overall estimated cost is £154 million. This will be funded by the Big Lottery Community Fund. My commission will be 2% of the overall cost. I think that this is a successful way to bring Folkestone back to the map. How will your sculpture be constructed?
How will it be constructed? Yeah, I initially looked at acrylic plastics because I quite like the shiny plasticky feel they have with them, and then I found out that just wouldn't work underwater. And then after actually looking at that Cause guy I spoke about earlier on, found out his sculptures are actually made from bronze, and I think that it's quite nice because it's a traditional material and it can relate to traditional like fine art, and I found out it's actually best because it resists seawater corrosion quite well, and well, when I say quite well, I actually mean it's really good. And I'm going to send it to a guy called Robert Holmes, who's a sculptor for bronze work, and for free life-size bronze works with the concrete big slabs on the bottom to hold them down. They'll be drilled in to the feet of my characters, or hands for the other one that's doing a handstand on the water, and that's going to cost around 15 grand each. Then we got to get them transported down there, and that's looking at £1,000 just for the transport of the three of them. Then we're going to get an amphibious crane, and it's going to be scuba dived down to the bottom, guided by 2 scuba divers, and the scuba divers are going to cost £1,000 a day, and the amphibious crane's just costing 7.5 grand. Each sculpture is going to be about 9 foot tall, the 2 foot of concrete on the bottom by 6 foot for the body, and then there'll be like a foot of hair, and they'll be taking up roughly about 5 foot square of each section they're going to be during the underwater pier. And then the sculptures are actually going to be finished by myself with paint, and they're going to be painted with a waterproof paint, and going to have a plastic coating over the top, which doesn't allow the seawater to penetrate in towards the paint. The surface will come out shiny, which will give a really good effect when the sun comes through the water and reflects against the surface of the sculpture.
Are there any issues with the environment?
There's only a few minor issues with the environment, as in the pollution was actually making the bronze cast, and obviously there's going to be fumes from the transportation. The only other issue I can think of is animals getting injured, sea life getting injured when it's down there in the sea. So overall it's actually quite an environmentally friendly piece of work. There are some good points for the environment to be raised with my project. That's the wildlife and the public can actually enjoy them, and they won't be disposed of. I'm actually currently in the process of finding somewhere for them to retire after the summer periods that they will be shown at the underwater pier.
Have you thought about the health and safety issues?
Yeah, the 2 main health and safety issues are the fact that my original sculptures had sharp edges on them, and that could be quite bad for the wildlife. Say fish could swim into them, it could fall over and damage rocks, and I've prevented this by rounding off the edges, giving the effect that I still want to give, and they look pretty much exactly the same, so that's quite easy to overcome. The other one is that they could fall over, and if some sort of current could pick up, which hopefully within the controlled environment of the still water, nothing too heavy should pick up. And to make sure they don't, that's why we've got the 2 foot of concrete on the bottom of them to hold them down, and they're quite heavy as well, so they won't fall over. And making sure we've positioned them a reasonable distance away from the pier so they don't fall over and damage it.
What is your projected cost of the project?
I'm going to be getting paid £20,000 by the gallery, and the sculptures and installations will work out around £53,500. So the total would be £73,500, and this will all be funded by the gallery and the council.
We'll be setting up a brilliant grand opening event for all the public. We'll be displaying a massive glass entrance which will be costing £8,000. There will be the shipwreck in the reef, which will be the main attraction. This will be costing £125,000. We'll also be having the exhibition. This will be costing £20,000, along with the gallery plaques, which will be £1,000.
Yeah, I'm going to set up a sort of temporary shop for the opening weekend, and there I'm going to sell some prints and some of my artwork. And I've had the idea of making another sculpture which will be made out of a blank acrylic, where it's going to be positioned within the pier, and it will give the public an opportunity to draw onto the sculpture and put their own artwork up on it.